Hello and welcome to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams. Welcome to our viewers and our listeners on the radio and on our podcast. This is a time of year that we invite in our county executive and our mayor to give us their assessments of the state of the county and the state of the city. Today, our focus is on Erie County with my guest, County Executive Brenton Davis. Thanks for being here. And I've asked the county exec to share some opening remarks, and then we'll have time for questions and a conversation afterward about where the county is going. County executive?
Greetings, Erie County. It's been a great first year serving you as your county executive. My team and I have been diligently working to begin rebuilding not only the infrastructure of our community, but the trust between the residents and their county government. Upon my swearing in, my administration assumed responsibility immediately for the highest number of reported COVID cases at the very peak of the pandemic. Due to an effective transition team, we're prepared to hit the ground running on day one. On the public health mission, developing strategy, providing resources, and realigning the protocols for how Erie County would operate moving forward. My first action in office, mere moments after swearing in, was to immediately rescind the countywide mask mandates and return the autonomy to the school districts, the parents, and to the individuals for their right to make their choice for themselves and their families as free people. We immediately made testing and vaccination sites available for those who chose to do so. As the fight against COVID-19 continued, we worked in partnership with local hospital systems to stand up the first test-to-treat facilities as promised, far ahead of many other counties across Pennsylvania and the nation. This forward-thinking and proactive approach reduced the strain upon the hospital systems and the impacts of the pandemic on our economy, our businesses, and most importantly, you and your families. Throughout my campaign, I promised a new approach to the office of the county executive, one which focuses on rebuilding Erie County through economic development and investments of your tax dollars based upon data, not politics or cronyism. A strategy and a mission focused on dismantling the silos and the status quo while building relationships and restoring our community. In 2022, Erie County government successfully deployed $241.4 million in social services alone, over $4 million in public safety, and another $2.3 million in direct community investments through county gaming revenue grants. And we leveraged another $25 million and invested those American Rescue Plan funds in our community. A total of the $5.5 million was invested in the Erie County Community College. That includes gaming revenue and ARPA funding to support infrastructure, tuition, empowerment and barrier reduction grants to support programs. These programs are aimed at career pathways leading to high-demand manufacturing and healthcare occupations for jobs that actually exist. In 2022, Erie County invested $400,000 in our welding technologies lab and allocated another $750,000 for industrial maintenance training equipment. This coming year, an additional $500,000 will be invested in CNC machining equipment with an additional focus on adding healthcare pathways for nursing, respiratory therapy, sonography, and IT career pathways. We're able to tailor fit non-credit workforce development training for local employers to upskill new and existing employees to fill the high demand, family sustaining jobs that pay livable wages. One example is the non-credit CNC machine operations training currently in collaboration with local employers to provide on-the-job apprentice-style training enabling employees to earn and learn. We established the Erie County Economic Development Department to tirelessly pursue economic opportunities and educational partnerships like never before. One example is the creation of the Erie County Fusion Cell, which was created with $50,000 in a grant we received from the National Association of Counties, which works directly with your local cities, townships, and boroughs to leverage Erie County ARPA funds to maximize communication and investment in all areas of Erie County. This fusion cell, along with Erie County Planning, Public Safety, and in collaboration with the Council of Governments, has been instrumental in the implementation of Tri-County EMS Plan, which serves Erie, Crawford, and Warren counties. This enables us to share resources, personnel, and infrastructure to save taxpayer dollars while improving emergency services. This administration, in partnership with the Council of Governments, has taken the lead when it comes to delivering high-speed broadband to all corners of Erie County. We've invested in a study that will analyze broadband infrastructure throughout all of Erie County's 38 municipalities. This study will identify coverage gaps on a granular level. This data will be critical as we launch our challenge against the FCC's newly released map. The current FCC map declares Erie County as 100% covered, which is completely not accurate. The more data that we can collect, the more successful we will be in this challenge in proving the need for infrastructure in our region and attaining a fair and equitable investment, which our residents deserve. This fall, my administration worked with County Council to pass an honest and balanced budget without burdening the taxpayer. With inflation soaring and the cost of goods through the roof, my administration simply could not ask taxpayers to foot the bill. Erie County taxpayers have made a $5 million investment into the Center for Manufacturing Excellence at Penn State Behrend. This center will house manufacturing-focused laboratories where industry works with students and faculty to develop, test, and implement next-generation technologies and practices. For manufacturers, the center will be the epicenter of innovation and advancing technologies, which will encourage collaboration within industries and provide a cost-effective alternative for research and development. This will in turn attract new industries and family-sustaining jobs to Erie County. The center will also host the first full-service, integrated, heavy-haul battery testing facility in the world, establishing Erie County and the surrounding region as a global powerhouse for the design, development, and manufacturing of next-generation heavy-haul transportation equipment, bolstering the competitiveness of an industry in which Wabtec is a chief player. Investing in transformational projects will allow for the creation of high-paying jobs and opportunities for the next generation to align educational opportunities with lifelong, family-sustaining careers. These steps are only the first of many leaps we will take as a community, focused on pro-growth, pro-business, and a pro-family environment. I look forward to the coming year and the work ahead. I thank you for your vote, your trust, and your support. Let's get to work.
Thank you, County Executive, for your opening remarks. And when we come back, we'll talk about the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. We'll start there and where their work stands after a shakeup in their board. I'm Lisa Adams. Welcome back to The Insider. My guest again is County Executive Brenton Davis, and we are talking about the state of Erie County. So you didn't talk about this in your opening remarks, but let's start our Q&A here with the issue that perhaps generated the most sparks in the last year, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. After they awarded some grants, 5 what they call transformational or impact grants, you didn't like the optics of this and you started removing board members. Can you explain why?
Yes, there's a lot of things that the public isn't privy to oftentimes in a 30-second media clip. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different factors that led to that. You know, I had many conversations with these board members, even prior to the removals. I mean, 3-4 different occasions we met with them and explained the perceptions of the self-dealing. No individual should sit on a board anywhere in Erie County that has the ability to award funds to its own organization. You know, I mean, to me, I think that's common sense. That's good government. And we issued that warning that they had the opportunities to recuse themselves from the funding and continue on as board members, and they elected not to.
So they would say they dotted their I's and crossed their T's in terms of those people not actually voting when it came to deciding on those projects. But you didn't just remove the 2 whose organizations got grants, you started removing other people on the board, people who have good reputations as community servants. So why did you do that? And how do you think they felt to be removed when they thought they were doing something good for the community?
So again, I mean, I'm not here to defend 5 members of a commission. You know, I'm here to represent the taxpayers of Erie County. And, you know, as a carpenter, I learned early that if your foundation isn't square and level and strong, you can't possibly build anything that's going to last. This DEI commission from the very beginning was flawed. The process under which these grants were reviewed was also flawed. So, I mean, for taxpayers to understand the why behind what I did, there was two individuals, one that received a grant and another that was involved in the review process, that were removed from our state workforce development committee earlier this past year for also self-dealing behavior. And to me, when you see this repeatedly from the same individuals that are also involved in that process, to me, you can't put faith in that process.
Well, half of the money they were hoping for, 3.5 million, did go to them, and they do want to award these grants. So by removing all these members, and you still are working on replacing those members, so are they able to do work now? When will those other members be in place? I know they're trying to leverage their funding. Will they ever see the other 3.5 million they hope to have for the projects I mean, you're not against the projects, you didn't like the optics of it?
So, to me, this comes down to basic government. Good, transparent government, fair government. So, the first flaw is that it's a diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the name, diversity. This board wasn't diverse, and it wasn't inclusive. It didn't reflect the diversity of Erie County, number one. That's the first commitment that we've made to Erie County. I have an interview with an individual this afternoon that should round out my last appointment. And we want to put forward a board that truly reflects the diversity of Erie County. That makes it fair to ensure that all communities in Erie County have a voice on this board.
Okay, so those who have already been appointed, are they meeting now? Are they able to work, or they're waiting for their board to be full? And the projects, again, where they told these groups you're getting a grant, will they be able to award those if the new commission members agree?
So the new commissioners, so once we seat these new commissioners, so we should see a full board hopefully coming to the next meeting in February. So there are several, I think there's one or two more appointments that are being made this next council meeting, and that should round out the board. Now, it's up to the new commission on whether they want to recognize those three individuals that I removed. Under the Home Rule Charter and the Administrative Code, as the county executive, I have the authority and the responsibility to, one, supervise, but the authority to make removals, and I am the sole person with that authority. So it's up to this commission on which direction they want to go. There's been some legal talk back and forth. These ARPA monies are being used now presently to fund an attorney from out of Erie County for these three individuals. So it's in the best interest for us to close ranks and move forward. So which position these new commissioners are going to take, that's going to be up to them. I think most importantly, I feel better knowing now that we've seated a more diverse board, and what's going to happen with these three commissioners will ultimately be in the hands of the new board.
All right, when we come back, more about investments in the community college that you talked about there in your opening remarks, the fusion cell, how that works, and what the Erie County Redevelopment Authority is doing. Stay with us. My guest is Erie County Executive Brenton Davis. We're talking about the state of the county. So you were one who really wasn't too keen on the idea of community college initially, but would you say now that it's working? You were talking about multiple investments there in equipment. What's enrollment like at the multiple sites? Would you say this is bearing fruit yet?
So 100%. So we have our first graduating class coming up this spring. So really just to kind of circle back on that, I wasn't a big supporter of the community college starting out, and that was very early on when we had previous council members talking about the opportunities to take pottery classes and non-credit courses and liberal arts courses, and that is 100% not what Erie County needs to duplicate the other universities and what they're doing for other degrees in the area. We need to focus on jobs that actually exist. I think Dr. Chris Gray and their team over there has done a wonderful job. Him and I have forged an awesome partnership and really delving down into the needs of our local healthcare and manufacturing base to really focus on the high demand jobs.
So classes take place at more than one site. The Villa campus, the former Villa Maria Academy, is part of the community college now. So are people attending there more than they are at the other sites in the county? And the money that you have invested in equipment there, where do those dollars come from? And how will you, what are the ways that you'll, I guess, the metrics to measure whether the investment is paying off?
Well, as far as the secrets in the sauce, I leave that to the community college folks. I look to them for guidance on what they need as we look to the the local employers. I mean, ultimately, this needs to be done in a manner in which we're preparing students, or whether it's lifelong students that are looking to upskill, or whether that's, pre-college or even high school students that are looking to prepare themselves for a career pathway. The monies that we use were obviously ARPA money, gaming revenue money. Those were different ways that we were able to put forward, federal stimulus dollars to really boost these impacted communities. In terms of attendance, I mean, those are questions we'd have to push back to the community college on. I'm not aware of the specifics on attendance at what locations. All I know is they're in their 4th cohort for their welding course. So, I mean, we are churning out welders prepared to go to work.
And are they able to keep enough faculty? I know there were some turnovers in staff and faculty initially.
That's another question I don't know the answer to in the nuts and bolts.
We'll have to have Chris Gray back. All right, so the fusion cell, you talked about that. What is that about? And if the county already has a redevelopment authority, how does the fusion cell work with what they're doing? Aren't you both really focused on attracting development and new jobs to Erie County?
So the fusion cell works a little bit differently. So on my tour, I mean, I did somewhere over 30-some thousand miles on the campaign trail in 2021. And visiting all the areas of Erie County, the townships, the municipalities, I really looked at the disconnect that was taking place between Erie County government and these townships. And the fusion cell was designed to connect us to those municipalities. So we knew early on with these ARPA funds that these municipalities didn't have any support. It's hard enough for Erie County with the infrastructure that we have to wade through the red tape of the American Rescue Plan and the infrastructure bill. So this is a way for us to build that partnership out into these communities to truly help build grassroots initiatives and help these townships leverage their monies and make one concerted effort for investment, not only inside of Erie County, but like the EMS plan outside of Erie County with other counties.
So you did have friction as well with the Erie County Redevelopment Authority wanting to replace people on that board as well. Are you on better footing there now, and do you support their big projects like the 12th Street Ironworks Square that we were just talking on The Insider with Tina Mangine about last week?
Well, like anything in government, I mean, even with folks that voted for me, they're not going to agree 100% of the time with what I do. You can't even agree with a spouse 100% of the time, let alone across an entire government. There's certain projects that I don't agree with. I think there's better strategies. So, I mean, the Redevelopment Authority and Tina and I have just made the agreement that they're going to do what they're going to do with that project. They're going to see it through, but we're just not going to invest any further Erie County ARPA dollars or any of the things of that nature on those specific projects.
It really has been an eyesore. The construction or the demolition has started this week, taking about 2/3 of it down. So they are talking about some new development there as well as kind of restoring an old building. I mean, do you think that will be good for the county and good for people coming into town, that part of town?
Well, I think anything, any brownfield that we can remediate is a good thing. You look at the situation that exists there. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I think there's a difference between good ideas and great ideas. And historically, for the last 20 plus or more years, we've seen a county executive that has focused its sole initiatives inside the city of Erie. The city of Erie received over $20 million more than the county did in ARPA funding. So this is my way to ensure that all residents of Erie County see an investment as opposed to that entire investment going right into the city and ignoring the rest of the county.
All right, real quickly before we leave this section, you've very publicly not supported the plans for this hydroponics and community gardens, but the Erie County Redevelopment Authority does. Although they said they're not going to go forward with the county, with the community garden part, they really do want to go forward with the hydroponic park there at Savacchio Park. So you've given an analysis of how much it's going to cost per job there. Where's your data coming from? And again, if they go forward with this, you're not against it, you're just skeptical?
So, I mean, that's entirely up to them. I mean, like, some of these projects were in existence before me taking office. I mean, to me, President Bush once used the saying, it's the soft racism of low expectations. I mean, to me, what does it say to these kids down here? I mean, you look, there's been 2 deaths, gun shooting deaths that have happened this year already within blocks of this very park. To me, I'm highly concerned. What message are we sending to these kids in that neighborhood that the best job we can offer you is, farming fish and picking crops? That's not a family sustaining wage. I refuse to invest in the first project simply just because it's there. We need to do better for this community, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than that.
All right, much more to talk about, including your comments about the COVID response and voter confidence when we come back. We're down to the quick answer round here on the state of the county. So Project Resolve in conjunction with Penn State Barron, how soon are we going to see ground broken and get that going?
So they're already underway with plans. So hopefully we see something here when the weather breaks to get something moving, to actually start moving towards building the infrastructure. So the funding's in place, the support from Penn State main campus is there, and right now Dr. Ford and his team are working through the engineering.
It's not a sprint, though. It's going to be a while.
It's going to be, to build anything of that magnitude, it's going to take some time.
All right, you talked about a shift in COVID response when you came into office. There are new variants. There are still cases here. It seems to be less severe. Anything concerning you or the health department?
So, it's something that hasn't gone away. Like I said in the beginning, there's this new normalcy. COVID isn't something that's just going to disappear overnight. But again, an open economy is a good economy. Never again will we shut down our businesses in Erie County under my watch due to COVID.
So election confidence, about 10 days after the vote was certified here in Erie County, the election office found 500 votes that were missed somehow. How concerning is that, and how can you promise voters something like that won't happen again?
So the county executive, to be clear, has absolutely nothing to do with the elections process. That falls under the Board of Elections, which falls under County Council. What I can say is the only standing Republican county executive in the state that our elections here in Erie County are 100% secure. There was a clerical error that was made, and that's something that has to be answered for and something that needs to be rectified. It's inexcusable. We need to be accurate. But in terms of the allegations of voter fraud, and I tell folks this whenever asked this all the time, as a Republican, upsetting a 20-plus year Democratic regime, I wouldn't be here if these elections weren't fair.
So what's the thing you're most excited about in 2023?
I think it's just the momentum. It's the momentum, it's the investment. Never before have we seen an investment in our lifetime such as this. We have the American Rescue Plan. I've made several different connections with the White House, trips to DC, out across the country, seeing the things that are happening. And we've never in our lifetime seen this kind of investment from the federal and state government. I think we have a new governor that's been seated, that's motivated to put us on the same plane as other states. So historically, we've been behind in economic development, and I think there's a lot of things happening at the right place at the right time.
And you think there will be a good bipartisan cooperation?
100%, no doubt.
All right, Brenton Davis giving us his take on the state of the county. Thanks so much for being with us. Next week, we'll be hearing from Erie Mayor Joe Schember on the state of the city. And as always, if you have an idea for us to explore, just email me at ladams@erienewsnow.com.